Continuing our discussion of why Shane says the emotionally cutthroat line of wanting to smoke grass in between losses with his teammates to Ilya during their big fight in the long game. So we just finished talking about how Shane is working from this level of perfectionism as a way to protect their relationship, because Shane has understood both consciously and unconsciously for years that once they are outed and their relationship becomes public, the world of professional hockey is not going to see them as first as these talented athletes and devoted partners. They're going to reduce them to their sexuality and how they view their sexuality. And that is going to be something like a scandal or wrong or improper. All of that homophobia that is wrapped up inside hockey is going to come pouring down on them. So for Shane, excellence has always been a layer of protection for him, and he has ramped that up even more, because in his mind, if they are both the best players in the league, disciplined, elite, impossible to dismiss, and constantly winning, then maybe the narrative can shift to the hockey legends who happen to be together. You have to remember that what's happening in this fight is both Shane and Ilya aren't fighting each other. They're fighting the meaning that they have assigned to each other's coping strategies. And they're not understanding the point of view the other person is having for their coping or why they're coping the way that they are. And so, when Ilya kind of says hockey's so important to you, he's not seeing why hockey is so important to Shane. And when Shane says you're just smoking grass and AKA basically being lazy, he's not seeing that as Ilya trying to cope with the depression, because he doesn't know about the depression, right? So when Shane is really dialed into this level of perfectionism, which is something that existed before their relationship, but he has dialed it up more, he's basically saying to Ilya, I'm trying to build us enough legitimacy that the world can't destroy us. But Ilya can't see it that way. Shane is trying to be exceptional enough so maybe he can outrun the rejection. And that is something that has been a part of him as a person of color in the white-dominated hockey world. As any person of color or mixed-race individual knows, that your achievement becomes a sense of armor for you. When you grow up existing in spaces where you already feel othered, you learn that excellence creates conditional safety. So you learn that you can be impressive enough and maybe people will respect you. If you are disciplined enough, maybe people will overlook your difference. If you are exceptional enough, maybe you can earn belonging instead of it simply being granted. So for Shane, hockey perfectionism is deeply tied to the psychological need to outrun his vulnerability through achievement. And that becomes even more intensified when his sexuality enters the picture. Shane has already the compounded pressure of being visibly different in a sport that very historically centers whiteness, traditional masculinity, emotional stoicism, and conformity. So his perfectionism is kind of like this: if I am this undeniably elite person, this elite athlete, they can't question my right to exist here. And that's why the public image matters to him so much. It's why discipline matters, control matters, composure matters. And this is part of Shane's healing arc and character growth, that he has to learn that being his authentic self is what is best for himself. But so for Shane, having mistakes doesn't feel neutral. They feel dangerous. His obsession over his diet to be this elite athlete, even more elite than he already has been, his obsession over winning cups and maintaining this level of excellence is not ego, it is survival conditioning for him. Because for him, he is saying, if you and I are perfect enough, maybe the world will be kinder to us. And that's like the tragic part of the fight here, aside from Ilya's depression. And they can't see each other's coping here. Shane doesn't know is that Ilya is struggling with depression, and with that depression, Ilya cannot physically and emotionally maintain the level of performance that Shane sees as necessary for survival. So Shane experiences Ilya's kind of lackluster, dedication to hockey at this point, as you're dropping our shield of protection. And that's not how Ilya is experiencing it. Depression often looks like to other people as not caring enough. So it can look like exhaustion, numbness, detachment, an inability to access motivation, self-destructive coping, feeling disconnected from your own life. And when other people don't know what your inner experience is, that can translate into looking lazy. Shane is misreading Ilya's depression symptoms as choices. And so he's thinking, why aren't you protecting us? Well, Ilya is barely surviving internally, which is why this fight hurts so much, because they never stop loving each other. They love each other while they're speaking completely different emotional languages. And a big reason that why this line from Shane about, smoking grass cuts so deeply is because he thinks he's accusing Ilya of not protecting their future, but in reality, Ilya is barely surviving long enough to imagine one. And that is devastating. And what they're both saying to each other during this fight is that I'm scared you're becoming someone I can't reach anymore. The devastating irony of this fight between them is Shane is trying to protect them from external collapse while missing Ilya's internal collapse. Because again, Shane is trying to solve a puzzle with a lot of critical missing pieces. And during this fight, they're both in amygdala hijack moments where their emotional brain is really turned on and their logic brain is turned off. And so when our emotional brain is really ramped up, we can say things to one another that are really hurtful. And once our nervous system has the opportunity to regulate itself, we realize we didn't mean the thing that we said, and they repair those things. But there's so much going on in this fight, so thank you for being here for another analysis of it. Hope this was helpful.